Brook might be the master of the breath of all things, and this understanding might have increased after becoming a revive man after eating the revive fruit. This idea is brought to you by subscriber, loyal commenter, and moderator of my Discord, The Digital Burrow, Will of Dreams, because in a video in which I am talking about how it's weird that Ryuma and Brook are quite similar because both of them are men displaced out of their own time periods and from time periods that we know nothing about, he said, Brook mastered the breath of all things. He cuts only when he wants to cut. And that is true. The breath of all things, or at least the concept of such as we are calling it, was brought up in chapter 195, in which Zoro is fighting Mr. One, also known as Das Bones. And there is a period in the chapter in which he starts to understand the breadth of the objects around him. Now, in modern times, many people have thought that this spiritual awakening from Zoro is a prelude to Haki. I don't think that is the case because the understanding of this philosophy, of which we're going to call the breath of all things, is very similar to, say, the voice of all things, in which you are hearing or perceiving the intentions or life force of things that would normally have one to normal people, like, say, hearing the voices of those who are being mind controlled or whom are gigantic beasts. You're hearing their thoughts. So it's more of like a telepathic empathy in that way. The same thing is going on here. Zoro's able to hear the heartbeats and the breaths of the various objects around him. And in utilizing that breath, he's able to cut Mr. One, slicing through the steel of his body after listening to the breath of his steel. So in that way, this breath of all things is more so like the voice of all things, whereas Haki is more so on the individual exuding an invisible armor to boost themselves when you're talking about armored Haki. And when you're talking about observation, is more so reading the life signs and the intent of biological individuals. But here, it's a totally different concept. It's a understanding of the natural world around you and how things function. So that's why I think this is a philosophy that we can just call for now the breath of all things. And I think Will of Dreams is onto something when he says that Brook has mastered this, because what this seems to allow swordsmen to do is to be more elegant in their cuts, cutting through things with precision as opposed to bludgeoning them to death, which Zoro still kind of does, but whatever. The point is that this fight might have been foreshadowing to what Brook actually does when he is cutting individuals in a fight. He focuses on precision as opposed to destruction, which is quite interesting. Now, taking that into consideration, and spoilers for Elbaf, but in Elbaf we see that Brook has become a master of this technique at 20, and he is one of the stars of his homeland of Esperia. Now, what people have been saying is that after Esperia falls and after the events of the story take place, he might have gotten weaker in the present as a skeleton. However, this is not true. I think he's actually gotten stronger, and now a interesting buff has been applied to his swordsmanship, because in the present, after the fight with Ryuma, we see what's actually possible with Brook's style of swordsmanship in the hands of someone with a powerful body. Brook actually matches Ryuma in the post-time skip, because when he performs a thrust in a confrontation with Kinemon's torso, it comes out like a gunshot, much like how Ryuma's thrust came out during the various confrontations on Thriller Bark. In addition to this, we find that Brook, after going on tour, has utilized the power of the revive fruit into his swordsmanship, and now he can actually attune to the spirits of individuals and affect them with his music. And he can also affect ethereal beings like homies with his swordsmanship because he is a revive man. He is also able to exercise said homies with his music. Oh, and I almost forgot, based on his revive powers as well, he straight up just has cryokinesis. He generates ice from his blade now. So that's another power up. So I think overall, he has gotten far stronger than he was when he was 20. And I think more is to come regarding Brook and his swordsmanship in the future. But I do really wonder, are we going to get some interesting lore about this philosophy in Brook's backstory moving forward? And if so, it's going to be a very exciting time because we haven't really seen him as a child in any significant way up to this point. So we are very much due to see his very beginnings in earnest because they have been alluded to before. So more exciting things are sure to come in the future. But with that being said, thank you so much, Will of Dreams, for that comment. And if you want to see more from me, if you're liking this content so far, click the like button. And if you want to see even more of me in the future, click the sub button followed by that bell so you never miss a video. In addition, if you could, please hit the hype button because it really does help. With that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede Waxing.